I was just saying that Jill and I just did AM 800 last week, I think it was, with Scott Dillingham at Lens City. So we're old pros in front of the mics now, right?
Yeah.
Were you nervous to hear yourself on
I was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a format that obviously is a lot more used in today's day and age now, and I think
more
it's
intimate.
important. It's important for us to get out there and speak like this, because a lot of people just see what we post on social media,
Our photos.
and a photo of you, and this is kind of
And a well thought out edited blurb that we sit and type out.
yeah, this is a deep dive into the business and our thoughts and who we are, and hopefully people get some value out of that. But I think it's important for us
No
to
editing, no overdubs.
That's right.
If we
Yeah.
make a mistake and say something stupid, everyone gets to hear it.
maybe a bit of editing.
Unless you don't hit record, then no one hears anything.
Yeah. But we were just, before we got on this, we were just chatting about like living all over the country and family and stuff. And I think that's stuff that a lot of people can relate to, because Jill, you were not in this business at all.
No.
Jill arguably could have been a foster child. Like if you didn't know better, she's lived in 15 different houses in only 30 some odd years. So literally every other year of her life she's moved. She's been fostered around.
So what, you were a teacher right before this, right? I want to go all the way back. I think it'd be funny to go back and talk about what we all did as jobs, because I know, Joe, you have some hilarious jobs that you've done in the past before this.
Shameless.
And
Shameless.
And I've got some good ones too. But Jill, like you were a teacher. You were like a career teacher before this, right?
Yeah.
So boring.
For almost 10 years.
10 years in teaching. Did you love it, or
I did.
You did love it.
I did love it. Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to be that for a long time. I actually taught my youngest sister when she was in grade 6, when I was in grade 12, doing my like co-op.
Oh,
when we were doing those classes.
That's weird.
Yeah. So
did she love that, or was she like?
And I think she thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe she told you.
Maybe
she thought it was cool. But you taught out in
Vancouver. First, yeah. Once I
love
graduated, I moved out to Vancouver and taught at a private school in West Van.
Never been. Still never been.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
You haven't been to Vancouver or the island?
No.
Oh.
No.
Might be one of my favorite places in the world. Yeah. The island.
My sister's going to school there, I think, next year.
Olivia, yeah, that's a place to go. That's a
place. I can see memories in your mind.
No, it's good. It's good. So you were a teacher for 10 years. That's crazy. Why did you leave that profession?
Moving. When we went to move back to Ontario, finally got a job. We moved to London, Ontario, and I got a job working for the school board there, Thames Valley. And it takes time to get seniority and your full-time position. So, kindergarten, grade 4.
Which one did you like better?
Did a lot of supply work. And
did you like JK better?
No, I like them all. I don't know. And being part of
my dad was a teacher. My dad's been retired for a while now, but he taught in the elementary schools as well. So he's got some opinions on which grades he likes to teach more, because it's all different. He ended up spending a lot of his career teaching like the 7th grade and the 8th grade, which is really tough, because those are the kids that are like, they're kind of just ready to go. Like they're ready to be not in elementary school anymore. So they get this bit of an ego, because they're the kings of the school right before it's
broken in grade 9.
Yeah, and they're starting to get that attitude because they're 12 years old, some of them maybe even 13 years old at that point. And so I think his favorite grades to teach were like 5, 6, because the kids are really starting to get like more mental capacity. They can work through things, they can reason things more, but they're still kind of humble. Right? Did you find that?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And then the younger ones, they're a lot of social, emotional stuff happening with the little ones, right? So it's fun. It's just very different.
How do you think that's differing now? Because these kids aren't even having an opportunity to do a lot of the social stuff anymore with COVID.
I don't know. I think about it all the time. I wish I was a fly on the wall in my kids' classroom right now.
Yeah.
Just to know like how they're interacting and what they're doing, because I know for a while like they were sending pictures home, of my kids, and they're sitting at a desk with their mask on, and they've got like a tray. So Lila would be able to bring back the toys, play with that, but then she had to bring the tray back, and it had to be sanitized for like another kid got to, and like it's not the same where you got to just like go to the block center or the dramatic play center and be together.
My mom's got an interesting teaching job because she does the art teaching,
Right.
but she's got to change her like mentality of who she's teaching every other hour, because she'll go from 4-year-olds to 7-year-olds to 10-year-olds all the way up to people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, right? So she's always like having to switch the classroom up from cater to the younger to the older. And when COVID had hit, they went over to Zoom, and they were doing the art classes over Zoom. And what we found was when she would put everybody in one big Zoom room, and everybody would just shut their screens off and just paint alone at home. And we're like, well, what's the point of being on Zoom if everyone's just shutting their mic off and painting alone anyways? And what we found worked was when she put them into their own rooms with their own group of friends. So like, let's say there was like 4 girls that would usually sit together in the classroom. She would separate them off into their own room, and instantly their cameras come back on. They start socializing, and you start to realize how much kids just miss that socializing. And when they're on Zoom, people are like, well, they're socializing, but they're not, because they don't want to say something to their friend in front of 30 other people, right? Mm-hmm. And those rooms, we found it started to like bring out that.
I don't think it's even just them missing it. I think they need it.
Absolutely.
Like, kids don't even realize how much they come out of their shell and they thrive when they've got other kids around and that social activity happening. And so that's going to be I think we're going to see some of the effects of kids in their like first development stages in these school years. They're missing something big time right now.
I got some COVID babies.
But I think so. There's going to be a COVID effect, I think, as
and
some of these
shout out
kids
to all
go.
the teachers right now that are
100%.
trying so hard to make sense and do what the best they can with what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
I almost like, I thought to myself, I'm glad.
You feel like you dodged a bullet? Like, I
don't have to do that because I
Seriously.
don't know. That's hard. That's hard. It would be taxing because you want to give these kids the very best, and you're trying to create the classroom environment to give them all the tools. And when you're restricted in so many ways, like,
well, what about the unknowns of being shut down again and things like that during those times? Because they would have to come up with a criteria of things to work on if they were in class, but then they'd have to have like a backup criteria to have for when they're out of class on Zoom. So you probably are doing double the workload, getting stuff ready that you may not ever end up using. Yeah. And most teachers love teaching just because they love being around people and kids and things. And you're sitting in a class, and like my daughter's doing junior kindergarten classes online, which I thought would have been close to impossible, but it actually worked. But you see the teacher like singing songs and dancing in her living room by herself, and that's awkward and weird, and it's just not natural.
I have a friend that is a supply teacher. Him and his wife are both supply teachers, and he sends hilarious videos and like Instagram stories and stuff to us all the time where he's like teaching a grade 1 class, and he's like, well, this is my day today, and he's like up in front of the camera like dancing like this, and all the kids are dancing in their little squares. Oh my god. It's not like that now, but that was what it was like when he was doing all the virtual. Imagine being a supply teacher, like a substitute teacher during this, because he was telling me like they don't even give you, half the teachers don't even give you anything. You don't even know what you're walking into. It's just all of a sudden you've got 20 squares of grade 1, grade 2 kids, boop, 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 all popped up in your camera, and you're like, what do I do now? Like, I can't even do the things that I would normally do with these kids. It's all adaptation.
So you dance.
We all had to. So you dance. Yeah. Wow. So that's a big thing. You being a teacher. What did you do before teaching? What are some other jobs?
She went she went to the most professional, like, respectful one. Like, that's not what we want to hear.
I want to know some of the things, jobs that you had before.
I was a cashier at Foodland. That was my first job.
Exciting.
It was. And then retail.
You went through retail.
Yeah.
See, that's a comment like I did too.
Yeah.
And I think when because it's sales.
Yeah.
Right? It's entry into the sales profession, but I think it's working with people. It's working with selling product.
Yeah.
It's working. So I think being a realtor, like,
there's
a natural progression to this job that we all take a bunch of different routes to it, but
I find a common trait for a lot of like successful realtors out there is they worked a lot of different jobs in different fields, and they have a very wide range of skill sets that they've learned throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, we had talked in one of the podcasts about you serving and on the side doing the touring and just learning and traveling and the teamwork with the band, and then doing the serving and learning that customer service and the speed of things and the multitasking. Like, I know that can go for a lot of jobs, but it does seem to be a very common thing with realtors.
Yep. There's a rapport that you have to have with people to do any of those jobs well. And that's the same in this job. This job isn't just about smashing a house down someone's throat, right? Like, this job is about cultivating a relationship with people and
emotional.
Being on the same page mentally and just day in and day out with the clients that you have. That's the most important part of this job. If you can't do that, then you're in the wrong business. But